Ever wonder what happens when an entire arena picks one player to target, and she turns every single boo into fuel? That's exactly what Sophie Cunningham did in Portland, and by the end of the night, the loudest crowd in the building had nothing left to say. Before tip-off, the tension was already sky-high. Protesters gathered outside the arena because of Cunningham's comments on trans athletes in women's sports. Similar demonstrations had followed the Fever earlier on the West Coast, so this wasn't just another road game. Nearly 20,000 fans walked into the Moda Center ready to boo one player every time she touched the ball. And that's exactly what happened. The moment Sophie checked in, the boos rained down from every direction. Every catch, every dribble, every possession. The crowd wanted her rattled. Instead, Caitlin Clark came up with a steal, pushed the ball in transition, spotted Cunningham trailing behind the play, and fired her the pass. Sophie caught it, squared up, and buried a cold-blooded three. Just like that, the Fever extended the lead, and the message was clear.
Foul was called on Cunningham.
Yeah, right there. I think that's just a common foul. Nia Coffey is just trying to bring the ball through. So
the noise wasn't affecting her. It was motivating her. Cunningham kept firing without hesitation, knocking down 3 triples, making smart passes, creating turnovers, and finishing with one of the best plus-minus ratings on the team. Meanwhile, Clark quietly dominated with a triple-double, proving the Fever had only one response to the controversy: winning. Even when Cunningham stepped to the free throw line and the boos grew even louder, she calmly knocked down the shot, came back on defense, and immediately forced another huge play. The crowd kept trying to shake her, but every reaction only seemed to make her stronger. Coach Stephanie White refused to feed the drama before or after the game, insisting the team stayed focused on basketball, not headlines. And that's exactly what happened. While the arena focused on booing one player, the Fever focused on the scoreboard.
And a whistle, no indication as to what. We'll call foul on Cunningham. Now, some of the guards you're seeing here today is the efficiency. If you look at true shooting percentage, which weights for both free throws and three-point percentage, #1 in the league, Kelsey Mitchell.
Olivia Miles kicks Caitlin Clark and Clark lands wrong. No whistle. Kayla McBride kicks Lexi Hall right in the groin. No whistle. Sophie Cunningham takes an elbow straight to the face and somehow she gets the foul called on her. This isn't a bad night for the refs. This is a pattern. And by the end of this game, Caitlin Clark stopped holding her tongue about it. So did Sophie Cunningham on Instagram. We are breaking down every single missed call from this game and why the Fever have every right to be furious. What should the WNBA do to these corrupt refs? Let me know down in the comments below. A defensive foul. No hostile act occurred. There was no secondary act after the defensive foul. Play resumes with Minnesota ball on the sidelines. Second quarter. Olivia Miles drives past Kelsey Mitchell and goes up for a layup. On her way up, she catches Mitchell in the face with her off arm. And that alone should have been a whistle. But she's not done. As she's in the air, Miles kicks her leg out and catches Clark right in the shin, tripping her midair with nowhere to land safely. Clark hits the floor hard and stays down for a few seconds. And anyone who's watched basketball knows that's the scary part. It's not the kick itself, it's how you come down after it. Ankles roll, knees buckle, and Clark had zero control over how her body hit the hardwood because someone else's foot decided that for her. Here's Miles dipping around. Mitchell Raz, this is the first time we've seen you and Caitlin Clark go at each other, and I know it's not just about you, but what is this like for you as a competitor? Think about what was actually at stake in that moment. Clark's full weight coming down awkward with her leg already off balance from the kick. One wrong angle and she's not finishing the game. She's not finishing the season. The refs were right there. They had a clean look at both the arm to Mitchell's face and a kick to Clark's shin, and somehow neither one drew a whistle.
The most efficient guards in the league in addition to the bountiful stats. #4 on that list is Paige Beck.
2 offensive fouls happened on the same play and the officials called nothing. 0. Meanwhile, earlier in that same game, Fever defenders were getting whistled for barely touching a Lynx player driving to the rim. So, the standard wasn't consistent. It was backwards. Ticky-tack contact against Indiana gets a whistle in half a second, but a kick to Clark's leg gets ignored completely. Now, roll it forward to Lexi Hall. Caleb McBride comes across a play and kicks Hall directly in the groin. Not close to it, not near it, directly on it. Hull goes down and you can see her reaction on the floor. The kind of pain that makes every guy watching cease and every ref look away for some reason. Anywhere else on the body, that's an automatic review. You catch someone in the face like that, you're getting a flagrant look from the replay center in New York. You catch someone in the ribs that hard, same thing. But this shot somehow got nothing. No whistle on the floor, no stoppage, no review, not even a mention from the broadcast crew calling the game. It's like it didn't happen. Except Hall was on the ground and everybody in the arena saw it happen. Alright, this game was the most rigged game ever. Look at this. It came down to a travel. She took 3 steps before dribbling and the game came down to a travel caught on Aaliyah Boston. But let's get started. They call this a foul right then on the shot on Caitlin Clark. And then when they replay it, Caitlin Clark does not come near her body. She blocked that shot. Should have been a shot block. Look at this. And we had a close game at the end of the third. That's all ball. That's all ball. And then look at this one. We had to use a challenge on. If I was a referee, I would sue my eye doctor cause they didn't get that prescription right. Here's what makes this worse. When you put both plays side by side, Clark could have been seriously hurt on a play where the refs had a direct look and swallowed the whistle. Hall took a shot that would end most guys' nights early in any other sport, let alone basketball. And the response was silence from every direction. Officials and broadcasters both. 2 players, 2 dangerous plays, 0 accountability. If this happens once, maybe you chalk it up to a bad angle or a ref missing it in real time. But when it's back-to-back in the same game against the same team, you start asking different questions. You start asking why the whistle disappears the moment it's Fever players getting hit and comes out instantly when it's Fever players doing the hitting. And this is just the physical stuff that happened to Clark and Hull. Sophie Cunningham was about to get her turn and so was Aaliyah Boston. And what happened to both of them took this from bad night for the officials to something a lot harder to explain away. I 100% think that's a natural basketball motion. Anyone who's ever done a pivot throwback, so I think I should say just anything the neck and face, look at she got whacked good. That the explanation, if you can call it that, is that the refs decided Cunningham fouled Coffey a split second before the elbow came up. So, the elbow itself got treated like a separate accidental thing that didn't count. Except that's not what anybody watching saw. The replay shows the elbow landing clean on Cunningham's face and her head snapping back from the force of it. And no amount of explaining the technical sequence changes what the contact looked like in real time. Cunningham is on the floor, clearly hurt, clearly the one who absorbed the blow, and the whistle goes against her. Anyway, the Fever bench is up out of their seats immediately, and you can see the confusion spreading down the sideline because nobody can figure out how that call becomes a foul on the player who just got drilled in the face. For Sophie Cunningham, the only one that came out to speak was she's getting rocked in the jaw. Then Caitlin Clark, another ghost foul. Like they don't let her play defense and then they claim that she can't play defense, but the officials are so inconsistent, they won't call this a foul. Kelsey Mitchell gets hit out of the air and then the game came down to this. Where's the foul at? That's a shooting foul. And Olivia Miles, oh, she's such a bad person cause she screams at the referee during games. What a horrible human being. That's what so, they caught Boston taking a step, but watch this. Watch. 1, 2, 3, and 2 dribbles. Wouldn't someone call that traveling? Stephanie White has to keep shortening Boston's minutes to keep her available for the stretch run, which means the Fever are playing smaller and thinner against a Lynx's front court that's controlling the glass all night. You can see the Fever players start exchanging looks on the floor. The kind of glance that says everybody's noticing the same thing, but nobody can do anything about it because the whistle's already blown. Clark's the one who finally says something out loud. Walking back to the bench during a timeout, she's pointing at the nearest official, mouth going the entire way, clearly not asking a polite question about a rule. It's the kind of moment where you don't need to hear the exact words to know she's done biting her tongue. Put the Cunningham elbow next to Boston's 5 fouls, and you're not looking at two unlucky bounces. You're looking at the same pattern showing up twice in one half. One play punished the victim. The other slowly bled Indiana's best rim protector out of the game through fouls that weren't really there and somehow even buried under all of that. The Fever kept scoring, kept clawing, and kept the game within reach when it easily could have slipped away by 20. Down 2 players to foul trouble, dodging kicks all night and still somehow in this game until the final minutes. That's the part that makes this loss sting even more. The Fever didn't fold under the whistle. They just kept playing through it. And the box score backs that up in every direction you look. Williams. Another all-star season. Here's Billings running the floor and laying it in on the down-court feed from Clark. They enter this game allowing the fewest second-chance points in the league as Clark brings in her first 3 of the day. Start with Clark. 19 points, 10 assists, and she got there while absorbing contact all night that never drew a whistle in her favor. That's not a stat line padded by garbage time. That's a point guard getting hit, getting held, getting kicked, and still finding shooters, still getting into the lane, still running an offense that had to work around foul trouble on its own front court. 19 and 10 on a night like that is a guard refusing to let the officials decide the outcome for her. Joe Reed very concerned about transition in this one. Oh, what a touch. Mitchell. She got it. To Boston to Kelsey Mitchell for 3. Think about what that means with Boston in and out of the game because of fouls and Cunningham dealing with the aftermath of getting drilled in the face. Mitchell had to be the release valve for all of it. And she answered by scoring in bunches, pulling up from anywhere, and keeping Indiana's offense from stalling out completely. Boston's line looks almost impossible once you remember she was fighting foul trouble most of the second half. 15 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. And that's from a player who spent long stretches on the bench watching fouls get called against her for barely touching anybody. Imagine what that stat line looks like with a normal whistle in 30-plus minutes instead of a shortened night dictated by calls that shouldn't have been calls at all. Then you've got the role players doing exactly what winning teams need. Lexi Hall gets kicked in the groin and instead of disappearing, she comes out in the second half and starts hitting shots, playing with an edge you can see from the cheap seats. Michaela Timpson comes off the bench with the kind of energy that swings momentum, diving for loose balls, running the floor, giving White something off the bench she could actually trust in a tight game. Hands active when she needs. That energy shows up late when the Fever rip off a 14-2 run that turns a laugher into a real game again. For a few minutes, it looks like Indiana's about to steal this thing on the road. The crowd gets quiet and Minnesota starts looking rattled, and then the whistle finds its way back into the game. Stops the bleeding for the Lynx and the run dies the same way the momentum built on calls that keep going one direction. The rebounding numbers tell their own story, too. Minnesota grabs 11 offensive boards to Indiana's 5. And in a game decided by single digits, that gap is basically the whole margin right there. Second chance points off those offensive boards add up fast. And Clark pointed out afterward that at least 4 of those offensive rebounds came directly off her matchup. Plays where positioning and physicality tilted a possession that should have ended in a defensive stop. Add it all up. And the box score says everything the whistle wouldn't. Talent showed up, effort showed up, scoring punch showed up from 3 different Fever players in 3 different ways, and none of it was enough to overcome a night where the officiating kept tilting possessions in Minnesota's favor. That's exactly the kind of box score that sets up a press conference where somebody finally says what everybody's been thinking all game. Clark almost never talks about the officiating after games. Ask her a question about a tough call and she usually gives you the standard answer. Something about controlling what you can control, focusing on your own team, moving on to the next possession. That's been her pattern for 2 seasons now. No matter how hard she's been hit or how many missed calls piled up against her. This time was different. This time, sitting at the podium, she didn't dodge the question, and she didn't give the safe answer either. She talked about the pattern directly, pointing out that this wasn't one bad whistle or one missed call. It was a full game of contact that kept going one direction without a response from the officials. She brought up the kick. She brought up the physicality building up over the course of the season, and she made it clear she doesn't think it's a coincidence anymore. When your best player stops giving the polite answer and starts naming the pattern out loud, that's not frustration bubbling up for one night. That's frustration that's been sitting there for a while finally getting said in public. Cunningham didn't wait for a podium. Someone posted a clip of the elbow that landed on her face. The same play where she somehow got called for the foul instead of coffee. And Cunningham replied with 2 words. What's new? That's it. No long paragraph, no explaining the play, no breaking down the replay angle by angle. Just 2 words that tell you exactly how many times this has happened before and how tired she is of explaining it. Sometimes the shortest response says the most. And this is one of those times where 2 words carry a whole season of getting overlooked by the whistle. The context makes it worse. This isn't Cunningham complaining about a bad break in a random regular season game. This is a direct reply to video evidence of her getting hit in the face and getting punished for it. Anyway, fans picked up on that within minutes, flooding the comments, screenshotting the reply, tagging the league office, asking how a player gets whistled for a foul while she's the one bleeding from contact. Other players around the league started liking and sharing the post, too, which tells you this isn't just Fever fans being defensive. This is players around the WNBA recognizing something that's been bothering them as well. Stephanie White stepped up to her own podium afterward. And the difference in tone from Cheryl Reeve was obvious to anyone watching both press conferences back to back. Reeve sounded like a coach who got exactly what she expected from her team and her game plan. Calm, in control, already thinking ahead to the next matchup. White sounded rattled, giving shorter answers and not really addressing the officiating question with the same directness Clark did minutes later in her own presser. Fans online started picking apart specific decisions from the 4th quarter, questioning why Boston wasn't managed better with her foul trouble earlier in the game and why certain late lineup choices left the Fever without enough size on the glass when Minnesota kept crashing the offensive boards. Clark spoke up. Cunningham said it in 2 words and White just didn't have an answer that matched the moment. That gap is exactly why fans are rallying harder behind the players on the floor and getting louder about the coaching decisions that put them in that position in the first place. Whatever happens with the coaching staff going forward, one thing is obvious after this game. The players noticed the pattern. They said something about it. And now everybody watching noticed it, too. Take away the whistle and this game looks completely different. The Fever didn't lose to Minnesota. They lost to officiating that let kicks slide and punished the player getting hit in the face. Clark knows it. Cunningham said it in 2 words and now the fans know it too. Look ahead to the postseason and this version of the Fever comes back healthier, angrier, and done getting pushed around without a whistle. Boston avoids foul trouble. Hall plays with that same edge. And Clark carries a chip that wasn't there before. What should the WNBA do to these corrupt refs? Let me know down in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications as we're bringing you all the action and top stories. Click the video on the screen and we'll see you in the next.